Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video. So today we are gonna make our first game. So I'll start with the basics and then follow up with everything else in future episodes hopefully. So yeah, so first thing first, let's get started with learning the Unity UI. So I'll be using Unity 2020.1.5 final edition. So if you want to follow along, then you can go with this, but any Unity versions should be able to run it. Also, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not using HDRP, but I might actually import it in later videos. So yeah, and if you're using another game engines like Unreal or Uni engines, then feel free to leave it down in the comments below so that I can try to make some kind of tutorials on that too. So yeah, so when you first enter the Unity editor, you should get something like this, where this is the hierarchy. This is where you can see all of your currently active and inactive game objects. As you can see, let me just adjust this a little bit like that. Okay, and this here. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, you have got a directional light and a main camera. Okay, and from the hierarchy you can do stuff like selecting multiple game objects, adding or creating new game objects, lights, effects, audio sources, and UI elements, or add a new camera. Okay, you can also delete objects like this. You can also hide the object from the scene view, or just mark it as unselectable, do things like that. And now when you select a game object, like I'm selecting this main camera component, you'll be greeted with settings from in the inspector. So the inspector is some place where you can have the settings for the selected game objects. So as you can see, the camera script is attached to this game object. I can control stuff like the clear flags or the culling masks. And if I select the directional light, I can have control over what scripts are attached to it. So same thing here. If I were to have a new script game object, let's just call it script for just a test reference. I did compile this. Okay, let me just create an empty game object to show you how to add a script to a game object. So let it just finish compiling this, and should be okay. 10 seconds. Alright. Okay, so here you go. So this small tick means it compiled successfully. So to create a new game object, you simply right click, create empty. This will create an empty game object. As you can see, there's currently nothing in this game object for now. It's just empty. To add a script to this, you simply can either just drag and drop this script like this here, or add component, then just add your script name here. As you can see, you've got it, and then just click on it. Or if you want to create a new script, just put the name here and just new script, as you can see, and create an add. So as you can see, this is our script attached to this game object. So now to rename it, you can double click here. Oops, sorry. Double click on this game object, just like so. You can just rename it here. Just click F2. As you can see, just click the function 2 button here. You will rename it. You have the option to rename it over there, and you can also right click and go on rename. Let's just call it game object 1. As you can go. Now Control S to save. Now let's just delete this game object and delete this script object. Let's add a cube to our game view and try to move it around in the scene, rotate it, and just do basic stuff to it. Let it just compile this thing. So to create a new cube, just do the same thing. Right click, 3D object, cube. You could also access it in here by clicking on game object, then go to cube, game object, 3D object, cube, the same thing. Double click to focus on it, as you can see. Now you'll have something like this. Okay, so just let us make it white. So first thing, let's just change the color of our lights here, and let's just increase the intensity to around 10 and put no shadows. As you can see, you should have something of this kind. Okay, like that. So if this is a little bit too much for you, just decrease this value like so, and here you go. Now if you get this kind of black edges, black faces, what I would do is just double click on this light source and duplicate it. How we do this? Right click, duplicate, or simply Ctrl D. Now as you can see, we've got two light sources, and then just put it here. Just put your game view here, your camera, as you can see, and then Ctrl Shift F. Alternatively, you could just go under edit and lock view to selected, and we'll just do the same thing. Okay, here. As you can see, our cube is properly lit. Okay, so now let's just attach a material to our cube game object and make it red. So to create a material, go under project, create material, just call it red color. Then just drag and drop this on the cube here, or in the hierarchy, and over here you've got all kinds of stuff. The rendering mode defines how this game object should be rendered. We will leave it at opaque, and this is the field that we want to change. This determines the color of the game object. So let's just have it in red, and how metallic it should be, and how smooth this should be. So let's just put it like this, as you can see, and let's just decrease this to around 1. Yeah, now it's better. So you can also go to transparent if you want some kind of gloss effects. As you can see, it's see-through. Decrease the metallic, increase the metallic, and the smoothness. And now to actually control the transparency, let's just duplicate this and put it here. So let's just create another material, blue color, and let's just have it as a blue tint. As you can see, you can see the other cube with it, but you barely see it. To fix this, just go under albedo. Wait, here you go. Just go under the albedo settings, and here there's something called the alpha channel. This controls how transparent the object should be. As you can see, let's just put it at around 96 and decrease the metallic a little bit, and here you go. You could also just increase the smoothness to have some kind of reflection, or just leave it as it is. So now you've got yourself some kind of gloss effect. So let's just remove all this stuff and save the scene. So other things that you have to get familiar with is the project window, where you can control all of your assets. For example, this scene asset, you can have multiple folders. All the scripts will be here to access them, all the prefabs and all the stuff. And then you have the console. This is the most important part of Unity, well, at least for me. Why? Because if you have any compilation error, it will show here. So we'll do one error on purpose later on in this video, and I'll show you how this comes in handy. And then yeah, so this is the scene view where you edit all this stuff. So as you can see, you can just drag and drop, edit it, rotate it. Okay, so this is the control tools, the tools available to edit your game objects and your scenes. And this is the game view. It should be somewhere around here. So this is your game view. So this game view is actually an actual representation of what the player will see. Of course, you as a developer will see something like this with gizmos. These are gizmos, but the player won't see all of these gizmos. Okay, so if you have to create a cube, the player will see the cube. If it's disabled, it won't. As simple as that. So I just make a simple game, okay, where the ultimate goal of it is to just, well, we'll see how it goes. So let's just create a basic platform. Let's just start with a cube. Let's just rename it as ground. Sorry, ground, like that. Then to scale it, you could use this scale option, as you can see, or alternatively, you could just click on this thing called the rect tool and then just scale it here. For uniform scaling, just click on Alt and then just scale it, as you can see. Keep pressing on Alt and just scaling it will result in this kind of scaling. So let's just have it at 0.1, and on the X and Z let's just have it at 5 and 5. Here you go. So let's just create some walls to it. Let me just gather all of these called level and just put that here. So now another term that we see, this is a child of the level game object. What is a child? Well, in short, when you take a game object and you put it, like you group it with another game object, as you can see, then you just made this a child of this game object, and this is the parent of this game object. So if this parent game object gets disabled, the child will also disable. But if the child gets disabled, then the parent game object just will not be disabled. Okay, so you can just group everything in here, as you can see. So I'll have all of my levels related stuff as a child of the level game object. So yeah, so now let me just create another cube game object and rename it as wall, as you can see. And let's just let it be for later. So let me just scale it up a little bit like this. Somehow let's just move it here. You know what, let's just make it like this, and let's just here duplicate this thing, go here and duplicate both of these. This is the rotation tool. You could also rotate it here like so, and then just move it around like this and move it there and here. Now let's just select all of these and move it a little bit up, as you can see. Here you go. Now to select a bunch of game object, you could just click here, control click, click and click, or alternatively select the first game object, press on shift and select the last game object, and here you go. Okay, now let's just make all of these walls a child of a wall game object. So we'll go create empty, rename it to wall parent. sorry, wall parent. Select all of these whole game objects and just drag and drop it under this, and just rename all of these to wall child. Now retract all of this here, then just take this and put it under the level parent. Let's just rename this as level parent, and then this is the ground child. So the reason I'm putting parent and child is just because so that you get familiar with what is parent game object and what is a child game object. Okay, so just to recap, this ground game object is a child of the level parent and similar to the wall parent, which is a child of the level parent. Then all of this wall child is a child of the wall parent. Now we've got our basic level all set up. Okay, let's just create a material, call it like level, and let's just put it a red color with metallic like this, and just select all of this and just add it here, that like this and this. Here you go. Oh, you know what, let's just have two colors of it, one blue, and let's just have these as being blue. Great, you have got yourself your first level. Now let's just have ourselves a small sphere. Just take it here and here, and let's just go add a new material called player sphere. Player, drag and drop it here, and let's just have zero smoothness, and let's just have it as a green like this thing, and let's just delete this directional light. Go in the window. Let me just fix these small light issues real quick. Rendering light, and then just dock it here. Time global animation, whatever, and generate lighting. Non-directional. Okay, as you can see, here you go. So the lights are fixed and it looks way better. So now we have got this sphere. Okay, so just save the scene real quick, Control S, and let's just rename this to the player. Okay, so let's just add the player script, and it's a good practice to gather all of your scripts in a separate folder, all of your materials in a folder itself, just to be organized. So I'll just call this material or materials, then just select all of this and drag and drop it here. So you just modify a folder just like a game object, that is right click create folder, just like right click 3D object in cube and renaming it just F2 or right click and rename. Now let's just create another folder called scripts, enter it, create a C# script, and let's just call it player script, enter, then let it compile, and now double click it to open it in Visual Studio. Let it load. Okay, double click it to open it in Visual Studio. As you can see, it's opening. load, let it load. It should not be long. Okay, preparing the solution now. And ready to use. Okay, so now you are greeted with this kind of screen. So over here we have a couple of things that we'll discuss in later videos. So for now, let's just delete all of that. Just delete it. And let's just take a look at variables. So to declare variable, wait, what is a variable? That's the most important question to ask in programming, okay? Because it's the heart of programming itself. I mean, kinda. It's not really the heart, but yeah, kinda. So what are variables? So a variable is just a value that can be changed during the runtime of the software. Okay, so we have different type of variable. We have integer variables. Wait. So we have integer variables. We have booleans. We have strings, and we have floats. Of course, we have way more than that, but these are the basic ones. So integers are any values, so 1, 2, 3, or 1,000,000. Okay, these are integers. Booleans only has two possibilities, true or false. String variables, on the other hand, can be everything. This is a string variable. This also can be converted into a string variable, and this can also be string variable. Note that to actually store a string variable, you need this. Okay, these codes. Everything inside the code will be stored as a string, and then float variable is decimal. Okay, is integers with decimal. So this is a float variable. This is a float variable. Note that I'm putting an F at the end of each. It is just because it's the syntax of a float. So to declare one, we'll just go public, then int for integer, string for string data types. We'll go also boolean, bool for boolean data types, and float for float data type. Let's just call public float number of clicks, and this is the basic syntax of how you would declare variables in C#. Okay, so don't forget this semicolon. It's at the end of each line you have to put this. So just see. So to assign a variable to this, just go num of clicks equals to whatever you want. Here you go. Just ensure that this thing is, yeah, sorry, we will need to do this thing. Just forgot about that. And control, yeah, just here you go. So yeah, as you can see, this is how we assign a variable, a value to a variable. So the same thing Let's go for a string value and call it name. Just remove this. We'll just do a simple clicker game, I think. Public integer. Let's just call level, and a public float called health. Okay, so now we can just delete these two, we won't be using it. So just to show you guys, I just do name equals to, let's say, let's just say my name. Okay, we will say okay, so this is the name of the game object, or the name of the player in this case, and you should be assigning it. But as you can see, it just underlines it and just say that it does not exist. What is it? Yeah, so as I've said earlier, to assign a string variable you need this code. So everything inside the code is converted to a string. So just to show you guys that what I'm saying is true, I just go debug.log, and inside this I just pass in the variable name. So what debug.log does, it's just that it just prints whatever is inside this the brackets here in the console. Note that this statement will only be run, or will only show a significant thing inside the Unity editor. Okay, it does not show a message in the final build, but we'll go to that on later. So as you can see, it will just put something here. So if we press play, you'll see something appear here. Let it just load this, and oh yeah, the reason for it not appearing is because I forgot to assign it to this game object. So I've assigned it here, and as you can see, my name true and all that stuff, and this thing corresponds exactly to here. Okay, so now it would be cool to let the player enter his or her name and then have this update each time we click. So let me just make a small UI very quickly. Before I forget, this private void start, what is it? Well, just remember, when you call on the void start, well, it's just some kind of a method, you would say, in computer programming, if I'm not mistaken, of course. So this is called every time the script is first run. So when the game object is set active first time, you just call this. And you have another one called void update. This runs every frame. Okay, we'll have to use all of this. So let's just create our UI, and to create a UI, click on game object UI. I'm sorry, I just missed here. Right click, game object UI, and over here let's just add some kind of an input field. Double click on it to focus on it. Here you go, and let's just have this here. Okay, and let's just also have a button. Just put the button here, and here you go. So as you can see the text, the input text, and the button. So let's just modify this button to name it save. So just expand this and access the text child component, and under text rename this to save and display. Okay, so of course you can just mess around with all of these things to see what it does. Let's just retract this, and here you go. and this is the input field. And if we press run, you'll see that nothing really happens. Let it run. As you can see, I can write things, I can delete things, I can click on this, but nothing really happens. The reason being is that we have to link this to our script. Okay, and it's really very simple. So before I forget, let's just assign this script game object to the player game object. The script component to the player game object, and here you go. So now we can just put a name by default, put a level by default, and put a health by default. So when you just have this here, it means it's just a default value. So if the player leaves everything blank, this value will be loaded. Also, as you can see, I've just put it as public, which means I can edit it outside of the script. And if I were to have a private integer, let's just call it hunger. Notice that I can't actually access the hunger variable from the inspector. This thing, I'll probably just skip through all of these loading things. And click on clear. As you can see, I don't have a hunger variable to edit. And if I go under debug, just click here debug. As you can see, I can see the hunger. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I can see the hunger variable, but for some reason I cannot edit it. And this is perfectly normal. The reason being, when this is private, I can only access it in here, inside this class. So we won't be using that, we can just delete it. So now, in order to link these UI elements to our script, we have to use the proper, you have to import it. So we'll do using unity engine.ui. Okay, now once you've done that, let's just add a small comment here. To add a comment, just put double slashes, and then you can just write everything that you want here, and it will cause no errors because it's some kind of a string for the script. It won't run, so the programmer only will see this. So you can just comment your code to let them know why you've written this code. So let's just comment this place and just put it as the player variables. Okay, and then just above it, let's just have our UI settings. Over here, I just have a public text, call it, oh wait, public input field. What's that? Ah, come on. Okay, whatever. Of course. Come on. Okay, so yeah. Uh, okay, so yeah, I just compiled that. Just compiled what I was editing the script. This is the reason why I couldn't just edit it. So here I just add the input field, as you can see, and let's just call it name input. Don't forget this semicolon. And yeah, now just save that script, and let's just get rid of this. Okay, now let's just put a public void, and let's just call it save and display. Don't forget these two brackets and these two curly brackets. Everything that you write here will be run. Your code goes here. So now what we'll have to do is to store whatever the user has inputted into this variable. So we'll do it's just really simple. Put the variable name equals to name input dot text and then semicolon. That's basically it. Alright, now what it does is whatever is here, okay, name for instance, will be equal to whatever the text component, which means whatever the text component of the input field is. You'll get a better understanding once I actually run the game. Just yeah. So now let's just, each time the user clicks on that, on the button, the level increases by 1 and the health decreases by 1. To do that, there is two ways. We could just go level equals to level plus 1. This is the simplest way to do it, and there's actually a faster way to do it, is just by creating level plus plus. That's basically it. So what it does is just it increments it by 1, or it adds 1 to the current value of level, and to decrease health is basically the same thing. And now let's just throw a debug.log. Okay, and let's just call it name column plus name, control D to duplicate, call this level column level, and this is health column health. So this plus sign is used to concatenate two elements, and here you have a working script. So minimize it, and let's just go ahead and launch Unity. Let it just compile, won't take long. Compile, and okay, so here you go. So now if you press play, nothing will happen again. Why? It's because we haven't yet linked both of these UI elements to our player script. To do this, I'll just select the player game object and go get here. And now to reference this input field, all you have to do is expand this canvas game object and drag and drop this into here. Drag and drop the input field in here, and that's all. Now if you press on the save and display button, nothing will happen. Yet again, we have not linked it to this script. To do this, select the button, go down here and just click on this small plus icon to add some kind of element to this. Then reference the script, just drag and drop the player game object to here. Remember, the player game object contains the script we want. That's why we just drag and drop this into this small slot here. And where it says no function, click on it, go to the script you just created. For us it's the player script, as you can see it's here. And now just select save and display. If you don't see this, make sure that this is public. If it is a private void, then you won't have this option. Let me show you real quick. Quick. So let it just load. So if we go back to the player script, as you can see, the option is not available. Okay, so let me just revert this back to public and save the script. Go back to Unity, and now if we press run, everything should be up and running. Okay, so let it just compile everything. And just select this console and press play. So now just press save and display. As you can see, the name is blank, probably because this is blank, and the level is 2, as you can see, and the health is 99. Let's just put redstone event here. Save and display. As you can see, let's just put hello world. Save and display. As you can see. So yeah, so this is it for today's video. So you have got a basic understanding of how to use the Unity editor and what things does what. Also, I think that you know why we have a console, and you also know the basics of programming. So in the next episode, we'll expand on this to build another game, or this small game. We'll just expand on it. And yeah, so until next time, don't forget to subscribe, like this video if you found it helpful, comment if you have any doubts in the comment down below. Also, until next time, I'll see you guys. Bye.